History is not written by great men. It's written by wrong turns, stray bullets, and moments of impossible, ridiculous chance. We're all taught the same story in school, right? One bullet fired on a sunny June 28th, back in 1914, strikes the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, and that single moment plunges the entire world into a great war that claims 20 million lives. But what if that's a lie? Or at least not the whole truth? What if the Archduke had lived? You might think that would have saved the world, that millions of lives would have been spared. But the truth is far more terrifying. The war was coming anyway, and without that one fateful bullet, it might have been even worse. So gather round the fire and listen. They say the whole world changed because a driver, lost and flustered in the streets of Sarajevo, made one wrong turn down a dark, narrow street. He tries to back up, the car stalls, and he stalls it right in front of the one man with a gun who had already given up and gone to get a sandwich. It sounds like a ghost story, doesn't it? A tale of cosmic misfortune. But what if the driver hadn't made that turn? What if he'd stayed on the main road and the Archduke's car had sped away, safe and sound? You'd think that's the happy ending. The credits roll, everyone goes home. But it's not. Because you have to understand, Europe in 1914 was already a haunted house. It was a giant, creaking, groaning machine built of secret treaties, shadowy alliances, and generations of bad blood. Every nation was connected to another by a tripwire. The German Empire was flexing its new industrial muscle. The Austro-Hungarian Empire was a crumbling relic, terrified of its own people. Britain and France were watching Germany with nervous eyes, and Russia was stirring like a sleeping giant. Everyone was building bigger guns, faster ships, and deadlier cannons, just in case. The whole continent was a powder keg, just sitting in the dark, waiting for a spark. That assassination in Sarajevo, that wasn't the monster that started the war. It was just the dinner bell. If that bullet had missed, if the Archduke had gone home and had a nice dinner, the machine would have just found another reason. Another scream in the night. Maybe a border dispute in the Balkans would have boiled over a few months later. Maybe a colonial clash in Africa would have been the excuse. It wouldn't have mattered. The gears were already turning. The ghosts in that haunted house were already rattling their chains, and they were going to come out one way or another. And here's the part that'll keep you up tonight. By dodging that bullet in 1914, we don't stop the war. We just let the monster grow. Imagine it. The world gets a reprieve. A fragile, false peace holds for another year. Maybe 2. Maybe 3. And what happens in that time? The monster, sitting in the dark, doesn't get weaker. It gets bigger, meaner, and a whole lot smarter. The war that was coming gets delayed, and in that precious, borrowed time, its weapons get worse. So much worse. Think about it. The tanks that first appeared in 1916 were terrifying, but they were also clumsy, slow, unreliable metal boxes that broke down constantly. But a war that starts in 1917 or 1918, those tanks are now true steel beasts, designed from years of focused development, not rushed onto a battlefield. They're faster, stronger, and far more deadly from day one. And the planes in 1914 were basically cloth and wood kites. By the end of the war, they were becoming something else entirely. But with a few more years of peacetime innovation, you get metal demons fighting in the clouds from the very beginning. Fleets of strategic bombers, capable of dropping not just a few small explosives, but raining down industrial-scale horror on cities far from the front lines. The chemical weapons get more potent. The artillery gets more accurate. The submarines get quieter. The horror doesn't go away, it just festers. It becomes more efficient, more lethal, The war would be fought with mid-war technology from the very start. The initial slaughter wouldn't be in the tens of thousands, but potentially hundreds of thousands. It's a terrifying thought that maybe the story we all know, as awful and tragic as it is, was the less scary ending. Maybe that one stray bullet, in a weird, dark way, saved us from something even more unimaginable. Exploring these historical enigmas, these what-ifs and close calls, reveals the hidden forces that are constantly shaping our world, often in ways we never expect. If you believe history is more than just dates and names, consider subscribing for more journeys into the past's greatest secrets.